the city even, or necessarily the state or the country, wanting to access that same infrastructure located in one office. When you've got that challenge, I'm sure you guys that have went and sat in those remote offices for a period of time understand that the productivity that you get in those remote offices is nowhere near what you get when you're in the head office. So there's a real challenge to attract and retain talent in those locations where you've got insufficient bandwidth in order for you to do your job, because those guys are getting very frustrated. Customers are getting frustrated. The internet's down again. I can't get to my point of sale software. I can't get to my email. I can't access my online applications. It's not fast enough to do that work. Because when you think about it, inside of your head office, you've maybe got 1,000 megabits from your desktop to the server. Someone in a remote office might have 4 or 8 megabits. So they're getting 100th of the performance that you are to access the applications that you want to use. So that means that those people are not just less productive, but they're less happy. They've got to work harder to get the same outcome as the people in the head office. And it makes it very difficult to attract and retain talent on that basis. I'm going to talk a little bit about telepresence, being mindful that my next speaker is speaking, Peter is speaking predominantly about video conferencing and the benefits there. But what we see with video conferencing, and take this as from someone who in his previous job spent 200 days a year on the road internationally, you lose a tremendous amount of time in travel. It's not just about the costs of travel. The costs of travel are one thing, and they're a very manageable thing. You can see an invoice from Qantas, you can see an invoice from a hotel. But what you can't see is the time that you spend in a taxi, in the airport, where you're not able to actually complete your job in the way that you want to, because you are on the road. You aren't able to access those resources in the way that you want to. So by using something like video conferencing or telepresence, we see people being able to overcome that barrier to productivity, to being able to be more productive even when they're travelling, to being able to access the resources that they need to when I talk about remote working, regardless of where they are. Whatever technology they're using, unified access to applications is what people want to do nowadays. But there's also some other real-life tangible benefits to that. So, much like Albury, Dubbo is an area which is somewhat away from major capital cities. So potentially your access to resources like specialised doctors, like specialised lecturers or tutors at a university, is somewhat limited by their ability to travel or your ability to travel to them, because generally those people are located in major capital cities. So we see a huge need for the use of video conferencing and telepresence in education, in medicine, even in government, in the participative uses of government, that will enable people to not just be more productive at their jobs, but lead better lives and be able to actually have a very similar life in access to resources in Dubbo or in Albury or in Mudgee that you would have in a major capital city, without all the things that people who move from major capital cities to these regional areas don't like the traffic, like the high costs of rent. So it's really about equalising access to resources. The one thing I will spend a little bit of time on, and certainly I'm very passionate about, is cloud-based technologies. So the NBN unlocks the ability for you and your business to access cloud-based resources. Now, there's been a lot of talk about the cloud. There's a lot of definitions about the cloud. Certainly, you can go online and spend all day reading about what the cloud is, what it does. But in very simple terms, the cloud is shared infrastructure that you're accessing in another location. So it's not your infrastructure, it's somebody else's infrastructure. And later on, I'll talk a little bit about the sort of technologies that you're able to access in the cloud. And I use the word cloud in sort of inverted commas because it encompasses a suite of technologies. But we'll work with cloud because it's a well-known definition. Why would you use the cloud? What's in it for you guys as far as utilising the cloud? What technologies are available? You're able to provide business applications that are mission critical to your business without taking the investment related to making them mission critical. So if you've got an application that would usually, if it isn't operating, means that you can't do your business, the investment that you would need to take in order to make sure that application or that server or that internet connection or that power was continually running is significant. So cloud computing enables you to leverage the investments that others have taken in making sure that their data centers are highly available, that they've got power protection, that all of their servers are air conditioned. That access to that high-speed bandwidth at up to a gigabit in future means that the speed that you're currently accessing your server on-premise, you could quite potentially access that out of a cloud service without making a huge investment. The next part is that cloud services are almost always an operational expenditure. So you're not having to go out every 3 years and find $30 or $40 or $50,000 to replace your hardware infrastructure and the cost and the time associated with that, the pulling out of the hardware, the putting new hardware in, the week after that where you've got to continually go back and get this little thing fixed that was working before. What we're really trying to see, so what we are seeing in the future is that we're going to move away from that. We're going to move away from that requirement to forklift upgrade all of your hardware every 3 years. And the reason that we're going to do that is that nobody likes doing that. Nobody likes coming out with $50,000 every 3 years. Nobody likes the disruption that goes along with it. Even us as service providers, we don't like doing it. And the reason we don't like doing it is that you guys don't see any value in it other than making sure that your hardware's still in warranty, that you've got sufficient, sufficient resources. All of those things on a per user per month basis makes it much more tolerable to keep up to date with technology. The one key part as well around cloud technology is that you are able to add and remove resources as you see fit. You might have one server today, you might have 10 servers tomorrow because you're running an event, and you might have 2 servers a day after that. But you're able to pay for only what you use. And that's a bit different to what you invest in today, where you make capital expenditure in the hope that it will last the next 3 to 5 years, but you don't know whether your business will grow 10 times that. And if your business grows 10 times that, you need to throw that infrastructure out and buy new infrastructure or buy new servers. So that sort of model of growing through your business, the cloud infrastructure, the cloud technology supports that. And it means that you can do business without worrying about, if I grow my business, will I run out of resources? Will I be in trouble in that way? It allows you to remove that worry from your business planning and just try and be as big as you possibly can be. The other thing that we see that's very useful as well, back to my point about remote working, is with sufficient synchronous bandwidth like the NBN, you're mobile. You're able to access your resources wherever you are. So if you're traveling overseas and you really need to get access to that application and you're using a cloud technology, you're actually able to get to that at about the same speed as you were if you were domestic. So really there's some benefits for people who travel a lot. There's some benefits for people who want to work from home or work remotely, people who want to have multiple offices, people who want to move away from that capital expenditure model. That's where we see the NBN being truly useful to the people that really need to use it today in rural and regional areas. I want to talk a little bit about what you can do to be ready for the NBN. Because it's not just something that you can turn on today and then take advantage of the speed tomorrow. There are other considerations that you need to take into effect, and I think that that's a great slide up there, a great cartoon up there. A lot of people say they're cloud ready, and for some people that means, like this guy in the picture, that he bought an umbrella yesterday. That's not quite what we're talking about, and what we see is something that is some factors to consider on whether you're ready for the cloud. Because not everyone is ready for the cloud. Not every workload is ready for the cloud. There's a couple of things that you need to consider before you take that leap. I think the first one is, do I really need it? Is there a reason for me to go to a cloud-based service? I think it's a valid question to ask. I've got customers who come to me today and say, I want to go to the cloud, without actually really knowing what it is. They read it in BRW and they think it's great and it sounds great. They're not really sure what that means to their business. So it's about taking time and asking the question, do I need it? Would I benefit from some of the technologies and features and scalability that the cloud and NBN would bring me? If the answer is yes, then great, go ahead and do it. But some of the pertinent questions which would lead you to answer that question is, do I need increased availability? Is my application or server being up all the time really important to me? For some people, it's not. For some people, it's a minor inconvenience. They can continue to do business without having their server or application running. Even if that means they go back to writing some things on paper, it's not a huge inconvenience to them. Do I need increased redundancy?